Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Lesroy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for you is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for you.
Good afternoon, and we welcome you to another edition of Working for You, the weekly radio program where the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, those in the diaspora as well, can keep abreast of what is happening in the government. Of course, we welcome you every week and we appreciate you listening to us from week to week and participating in this program by calling in as well and sharing your concerns, your suggestions, and asking your questions. Today, I have a very special guest with me. He is Mr. Les Khan, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the St. Kitts and Nevis Citizenship by Investment Unit. Mr. Khan, good afternoon.
Thank you, Lesroy.
Of course, you know that our Citizenship by Investment program is one of the oldest in the world and has established itself as being one of the best as well. It is one of those programs in which St. Kitts and Nevis has earned a lot of revenue that can be used, of course, in the economic development of the country. Today, we will be speaking about this program, what basically it is, some of the challenges posed by the program, some of the reforms, and so on. And I have a very experienced and qualified expert with me, Mr. Khan, who is going to share on a number of these things. Now, Mr. Khan, how long have you been in the post as Chief Executive Officer?
I've been in a position since July of this year, but I think it needs to be recognized that for 18 months prior to that, I have been involved in the program in assessing the weaknesses and issues and making recommendations to the previous administration and the new administration. In 2015, I was working for a company called IPSA, and IPSA is a due diligence and risk management company. We were brought in to assess the unit, the CIU, and to make recommendations for improvement. In the 2015 period, we were hired again to implement the recommendations that we made and to continue with the improvement strategy that was initiated by Prime Minister Harris.
Okay. Now, just what is Citizenship by Investment?
All right.
What is it?
Well, first, let me, there's usually confusion between CIU and CBI. So first, let me describe the CIU, Citizenship Investment Unit. That's the CIU, and I'm responsible for the CIU. We are responsible for processing applications to the CBI, which is the Citizen by Investment Program. So the CBI Investment Program is a program that was initiated way back in 1984, and which basically encourages foreign investments into the country. Through this mechanism, the country creates, and I say the country, but a country at this point in time because it has grown beyond St. Kitts and Nevis, creates funds for investment in infrastructure, stimulating growth in the economy, such as real estate, and the opportunities for diversification and the economic development of the nation.
Mm-hmm. But why a second citizenship? And who are the people really interested in a second citizenship?
Lots of reasons why an individual would want second citizenship. And I'm glad you use the term second citizenship, because a lot of people refer to purchasing a passport. And in reality, we're offering citizenship into St. Kitts and Nevis. Individuals, high net worth individuals who can afford such an option would need this for a number of factors. One would be as a security option, or you call it an insurance policy. Maybe they're living in an area of instability, and as a result would like to have a passport that will allow them to get in and out of that country when the need arises. So it's an insurance policy for movement in unstable environments. Other opportunities might come from high net worth individuals, again, who have a need to travel for business purposes. And picture yourself in a place like Russia that may have restrictions on travel. You may need a passport. You have a large company that is being run globally, and you need a passport to be able to travel from one country to another country easily.
Sure.
So from that perspective, a lot of individuals will apply for citizenship. Other reasons will be for education. Individuals in an environment where, again, there's limited education opportunities may seek to create opportunities for their family. So by getting a second citizenship, that allows the individual to apply for education options anywhere in the world. Quality of life is another factor. Individuals at a certain age may be thinking about two things. They're high net worth individuals again, and they're looking to have a second, a third, a fourth home in an area that offers them the quality of life that they choose at that point in time. Retirement. Individuals may be thinking about where should they retire after they've worked through the snow and all the hassles in certain countries. They want a leisure life and probably a luxury lifestyle. And St. Kitts and Nevis offers all of these options to an individual. There is the last option, and that is possibly for tax implications. So individuals might want to have residency, which gives them tax benefits in their jurisdiction. Good news about St. Kitts and Nevis is that there's no tax on income earned here. There's no tax on global income anywhere. Sure. So it offers a lot of benefits for an individual.
Okay, now visa-free access, because of course the St. Kitts and Nevis passport is attractive for a number of reasons, and one of them is that it offers visa-free access to how many countries?
133 countries that we offer visa-free access, and this number is being worked on continuously. I say 133, but it should be noted that we have about 25 to 30 other countries where you can get access by entry at the port. So in essence, it's a real positive thing that our government has been able to negotiate these sorts of arrangements to allow an individual to be able to travel freely, visa-free, and also just enter in a port and get access.
Yes. Now, we have had some challenges with the program. It has faced some challenges over the years. Can you speak to some of these challenges?
Well, that's the reason I was brought in. First of all, the challenges relate to a number of factors. One, volume has been, during the 2013-2014 period, volume within the application process was significant, and I think it just got away from the unit. So there was a need to re-engineer, to reorganize, and to, as we like to say, recalibrate the program.
Okay, now volumes of applicants have decreased in our program. Why is this so?
We're no longer top dog And when I say top dog, I mean we're no longer the only player in the field. In 2014, around that period, Antigua started to come online, Malta came online, Dominica in the latter state last year or so, St. Lucia came in earlier this year, Grenada was there, and then you have other countries like Cyprus also coming into play. So no longer are all the applications come into St. Kitts and Nevis. They are now dispersed around the world, and therefore applications that were coming in from Russia, for example, would probably go to Europe, to Malta in the case. China would be spread across the Caribbean region. So you have a lot of reasons why the volumes would go down.
There are more competitors.
There are much more competitors. And hence the reason to up our game.
Yes. Okay, now while you spoke about some of the challenges, without really going into the nitty-gritty, what changes or reforms have taken place with the program recently?
Let's talk about the operational changes first. Within the CIU, we created a management team that is now very experienced, individual with varying background who add to our process of decision making and makes it a much more solid and all-encompassing. We have streamlined our operations. We have put in a system into production, and this is the first workflow system in citizenship investment programs in the world. So as a leader in the program, here we are again St. Kitts and Nevis, leading in the technology front. This system has been implemented in the last year, and we now have 100% of our service providers using our system, which allows them to input applications as they get them, and within a very short time frame, almost 2 days, I would say, get an acknowledgement from the unit. So we can track now the applications as they come in from a service provider. We know what they're working on. We can also track them throughout the department, and this is where workflow becomes a very critical factor for us to become more efficient. So by putting in the system, making the changes, adding more due diligence providers, and we should talk about due diligence in a minute.
Sure.
But adding more due diligence providers allows us to handle the volume as they come in. All right. Again, changes in the department in terms of how we vet applications allows us to have checks and counter checks in our process.
Okay. Good. Now you have just done 4 weeks of traveling, globe trotting, if I want to call it that, to several countries in promoting the CBI program. What can you tell me about this?
Well, I would say for 18 months, and this is the 18 months while we were recalibrating, the St. Kitts and Nevis program was basically allowing other units, other programs to promote themselves. And we did not do that, and we couldn't, because we were making corrections to our process. We were improving our strategies. We were defining. And as the Prime Minister likes to say, or said to me recently, stay on point.
Yeah.
We took that time to make the changes. I mean, there were lots of other changes that were implemented. We established a technical committee, for example, for denied files, which needed to then address a backlog of files. We had 1,600 files outstanding at the time that the unit was being restructured. We had to address these, and as a result of that, build back confidence with our service providers.
Yes.
We also changed the model of engagement to ensure that everyone knew that they were part of our process. That the client started at the client, the agent, the developer, the service provider. And at the end of it, the whole department that is servicing this whole entity. Mm-hmm. So getting our unit to function as a team and to be more professional and service oriented was a key driver for us. So when I got out to do my road trips, it was with a lot of confidence that we had done what we had to do. Mm-hmm. And we had tested the market with a number of applications, be it in Europe or be it from the Middle East, on our service and how fast we were servicing. So when I went out there, I was able to then have conversations with agents mm-hmm. and convince them that we had made changes and gain back their respect and their confidence that they can now bring applications back into the unit. Mm-hmm. A lot of agents, when things slowed down and we weren't processing as quickly as we could, a lot of agents started to go to Dominica, started to go to Antigua.
I see.
But they always had St. Kitts and Nevis as their primary point of interest, if you want to call it that. They always wanted to come to St. Kitts. And especially if you had a number of applicants who were approved for citizenship in St. Kitts and Nevis. They tell their friends tell their friends, they all want to be in the same place. Mm-hmm. But the agents could not recommend St. Kitts and Nevis, and that's where we saw the dip. So going out there, having the conversations with agents, being able mm-hmm. to convince and show that we had improved and that we could know where a file was at any one point in time. If they asked me a question today, I could give them an answer today. So that was mainly the Middle East, and that focus was on agents in the Middle East.
Yes.
In China, the focus was with investors. And again, wealth managers wanted to know if they can count on us. And if we can turn around the applications. We are now seeing some of the results of that, and I believe that over the next few months, the message is loud and clear that St. Kitts and Nevis is back, and that we're not taking our eyes off the ball.
Mm-hmm. Good. Now, every country wants to protect its citizenship.
Yes.
That is crucial. Countries do not want to be branded as being rogue countries, vagabond countries. And under another dispensation, the CBI program was branded with very scathing names. For example, we were told that there were lax controls in the management of the program. We were told that from other countries that they were not convinced that there was enough seriousness with due diligence. Now, what steps have you put in place? Because I know it's a work in progress mm-hmm. of putting steps in place. But what steps have you put in place and are putting in place to ensure that the most desirable persons are attracted to our program?
Due diligence is the fundamental cornerstone of our program. All right? We ensure that the due diligence process is followed to the max. Over the last year, we added additional due diligence providers to ensure that we had due diligence specialists in different regions. But first of all, let me describe what due diligence is.
Yes,
I know
could you walk us through the process?
Some of our audience may not understand what due diligence means. Due diligence is when we take an application, we take the information of the individual, be it his passport, his birth certificate, his place of residence, any relevant information, and we send it to what we call a due diligence provider. Our due diligence provider, and IPSA is one, there's BDO, there's Thomson Reuters, a number of them in the field, and we have vetted all of them to ensure that we're getting the best due diligence service. Due diligence provider then takes this information and they run it through a number of different engines, or scanning engines as they like to call it. This will take into consideration any sanctioned names, any sanctioned countries. It will take any public records, open source media information. In addition, we send our applicants to third party, all right, or law enforcement. And law enforcement then takes this to another level. And they will look at criminal records, they will look at Interpol lists, they will look at other types of lists that our due diligence provider will not or may not have access to, all right. We then take all of this information, the due diligence provider takes the information they gather and they write a report that tells us all the negatives, all the positives about that individual. Is the birth certificate accurate? Is his education certificate, is it real? Is it a fraud or is it not a fraud? Is there a negative media on him and what does it say? All these things are then taken into consideration. The DD report then comes to the unit. We then wait on the report that will come from third party, which is law enforcement. And we take a look at what is being stated and what is being recommended. And then we do a complete analysis of the due diligence report, and this is what we call vetting.
Yes.
All right, so vetting is a stage where you take a look at the results of the due diligence and the documents that were received, and you do an analysis. You determine whether the individual did say who he said he was. You determine whether his financials are solid. We look at the financials and we check to see if there's source of funds or source of wealth. And these things are to ensure that he has the funds for investment. In addition, we ensure that the individual, if he's given citizenship, that he does not become a ward of the state. All right, so we take a very, very deep look at the information we get. Now, in the unit, we've organized ourselves into level 1 vetting and level 2 vetting. So you have what I like to call the 4I concept, which is somebody checks somebody else.
Yes.
Before it gets to point of recommendation, before it gets to the head of the unit, before it gets to the Prime Minister for signing. So there are several levels. I think these processes were there in some form or fashion before. It's not that it wasn't there, all right? But we've documented it. And we can show workflows from end to end, all right? We can show where our control points are. And I think this is gaining a lot of credibility with our international partners because we are open, we're transparent about how we do things. And I think that has gone a long way. So, the negative side of this, I think, is behind us. Now, could the unit make a mistake? Yes. We could have a mismatch in names.
So people can fall through the cracks.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that depending on the name that is given to us and the date of birth and so on, sometimes the due diligence provider could have a mismatch. And then we will get challenged and we'll go through the process of trying to validate that. We will also get the third party, which is law enforcement, to validate this information. So The key is, though, that we have to have a continuous check of individuals who are coming through our program. And this is something that we're implementing. We did what we call a look back of all applications over the last 8 years or so. And we did a complete review of those files to ensure that the right decisions were made, and we vetted and we ran them through the various sanctions engines. So we're always looking to see if someone, as I like to say, went to the dark side. and then we recommend appropriate action.
Okay, but is there a possibility, for example, that some criminal does not show up on the radar? After all, it's due diligence.
Well, the thing is that about due diligence is that if an investigation is going on an individual, unless there is an actual case against the individual, it does not show up.
Does not show up.
All right. So you can be very well going through a vetting process of an individual who may have some investigations going on with him, and it would not show up until after he gets a conviction. But by then we might have approved the application. But this is why we go to law enforcement, who has access to a number of different channels, and they would flag something like that if it's appropriate.
Now, can a person who has obtained citizenship on our program have the citizenship revoked? And what are the criteria for revoking or cancelling citizenship?
Citizenship cancellation can be revoked if an individual lied or obtained his citizenship under false pretenses. So that would be the main reason for that. But decisions can be made by the government if there is a perception or an understanding that the individual might represent a significant risk to the country. So decisions like that could be made by national security or by the government.
What if the person commits a crime after they would have obtained citizenship?
Well, the same thing.
A very heinous crime, for example.
Well, what would happen with a person from St. Kitts who does, because this person is now a St. Kitts citizen.
Right.
Right? So he has to go through the criminal process.
Okay.
Right.
That brings me to my next question. Are economic citizens barred from any rights, privileges that citizens of a country through birth, naturalization, marriage have?
Yes, voting. That's the.
Is that the only one?
That's the one I'm aware of right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Just the economic citizens can